About a year later, after opening the shop, I nearly got bankrupt. I nearly gave up on myself and my dream. You know, from all the watch stories I actually have, and all the adventures and incredible people I've ever met, my actual first watch-related story was vintage. Or my first professional story. I actually started in the vintage watch world. I started because of Jasper in Amsterdam Vintage Watches. I looked at him and I looked up to him for years. Well, I worked in a dead-end sales job and I was like, that's what I want to do. I always wanted to be in watches, but never really had the possibility to do so because of the finance part. I mean, I met a girlfriend and we lived together, so money was an important thing, you know. We had bills to pay. At some point in life, I just made this decision. I'm like, I need to do this because I'm so incredibly unhappy. So after watching Jasper for so long, I actually reached out. He was a brilliant guy. And that's how I started my professional career as a watch dealer today. And you could actually say that that is also where my YouTube career started, because he made YouTube videos and I wanted to make YouTube videos because I needed to promote the business. Are you all right? Yeah? No, give me a Coke. I never drink Coke. I just want sugar. I'm just an alcoholic. I just drink a lot. That's what it is. But my career started in the vintage watch world. My first real vintage watch that I had was an Audemars Piguet Joule. I bought that on auction. I think in 2016, a white gold Joule. I paid £4,000 for that piece of shit. I didn't know anything about the vintage watch world. I just loved older watches, vintage watches. I just loved that so much. Because a Submariner is one thing, right? And the Submariner is a nice watch, don't get me wrong. Everyone wears a Submariner. A Daytona is a nice watch, but I go to an average car meet and everyone wears a Daytona. So for me, it was never that special. For me, vintage watches was just that bit special because it was unique. It told a story that no other watch told. If I wore a vintage watch, or if I wore a watch that was close to me, for example, I have a few vintage Daytonas, but if I wore one of those vintage Daytonas, I knew that story of that watch was unique. And that meant I actually had a unique watch. No one else in that room of people that had incredible watches had a watch that had a story as unique as mine. And that's what I loved about vintage watch. Like for me, that's where my career started. That's what I loved about watches so much. And after giving Jasper a phone call, and he must have thought I was an absolute lunatic, which he was absolutely correct about, by the way, because I just called him up. I was like, listen, I want to sell watches. What's the crack? Next to that, there's not many people that are willing to do whatever it takes to get there. For me, I was just in a situation of do or die. I mean, just quit my job and called Jasper. I'm like, man, like, I've looked up to you. I think you're incredible, and this is what I want to do. Could you help me out? And he gave me pointers. And that conversation probably lasted about 15 minutes because he got that question at the time a lot. And the fact that Jasper at the time gave me that moment allowed me to push on, and it really motivated me. And it gave me a chance in the industry that I loved so much, but didn't know really from a trade side. I knew this from a forum side, right? So I was on every forum already, every Facebook group, every forum, even before Facebook. I was active on that, but not as a trader, not as a dealer, but as an enthusiast. Now the doors were open for me to become a watch dealer, a proper real watch dealer. Open an Instagram account, and there's a cool story about that Instagram account, because the Instagram account was watchni.co.uk, right? watchnorthernIreland.co.uk, and that is the most uninspired name in the world, because anything and anyone in Northern Ireland that starts a business ends the business with NI, just to prove a point. We're in Northern Ireland, you know. It is crazy. Coincidentally, and my father actually figured this out. My father saw this. He's like, I like what you've done with the name. I'm like what? Like Watch NI. Couldn't be less inspired than that name. He's like, no, it says Nico. It's like, what are you talking about? It doesn't say Nico. It's like, it's watchni.co.uk. No, it says Nico. I'm like, and then I looked at the whole name, and then I realized watchni.co says Nico. Watch Nico. I mean, that was funny, and I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I didn't know. I knew. Like my father pointed this out like months later. Like, that was funny, and that's where it started for me, you know. And I started an Instagram account and started talking about watches, and I still have my first video where I sit on the sofa and I'm like, we sell watches. And it wasn't we, it was me. Right? It wasn't we. I was pretending it was a business. I didn't even knew how to file accounts and stuff. What did I know? I mean, I was just a guy that loved watches and just wanted to make a living for himself. I saw what Jasper were doing, saw what other people were doing, and that really, really inspired me. And at a later stage, Jasper and I became very, very friendly. And We went to Geneva to the auction. I've seen all that stuff, and that was incredible. That was special. Well, it was also a period where the company was growing, and I had the possibility to build a shop. And I remember this if it was yesterday, because I only had £26,000 on the bank, which is about $35,000, I think. I was able to open a shop in a 5-star hotel, in their old pool room of that hotel. That hotel was previously a bank. We call it the Old Ulster Bank, and Ulster is like Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is known as Ulster. To give you an idea, the island of Ireland is split in 2 countries, the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And people that live in Northern Ireland and support Northern Ireland call Northern Ireland Ulster. The Old Ulster Bank, the Merchant Hotel in Belfast, opened their doors, which is a 5-star hotel, the only 5-star hotel in the country, opened their doors for me to open my watch shop. And I didn't have much money. I had £26,000 on the bank. And the craziness of this was that by making this whole shop, and keep in mind, I don't know anything about interior design. I don't care, right? I need 1 chair, 1 sofa, whatever, 1 bed. Even in my house now, I'm very simple. I don't need anything. I would go to IKEA and furnish my house. I mean, it is what it is. I saw Jasper's shop. I thought, that's how I want my shop to be. And I replicated my shop exactly to his standard at the time. And listen, Jasper was my friend, and is still my friend, luckily, today. Something happened which is actually quite interesting. Jasper is my friend, right? And I'm extremely grateful for him allowing me to make my shop very similar to his. That meant a lot to me, because it started for me in the vintage watch world with Jasper. And I fought my way after about 1.5 years on Instagram and working on this every single day to sell a few watches, to build up £26,000 to then open my shop. That was a special moment, and I'm very grateful for the support that I received from Jasper at the time, you know. Incredible if you think about that. I opened the doors. The cost of the shop actually to make everything cost me about £22,000. So I only had £4,000 left, and I didn't really have watches anymore. So to fill up the cabinets, I used the boxes to really fill up and make it look like it had some proportion to it, if you know what I mean. Me, those were times. Like, that is crazy if you think about that. About 1 year later, after opening the shop, I nearly got bankrupt because of COVID. COVID was announced, and the first things that had to close was hospitality, hotels and restaurants, and my shop was in a hotel, so I had to nearly close my shop, you know. That was bizarre. It was crazy. I had just had my first sales guy. Like, I sat in that hotel, in that shop, every bloody morning from 7 a.m. because that's when the most people would come through for breakfast in that hotel. And I thought that the hotel would be filled with Americans because they love golf and they love Ireland, and they would come to the Merchant Hotel because it's the most prestigious hotel. And I'm like, I was sitting there every morning at 7 a.m. hoping for someone to come in. And they did. They did come in, to be fair, after breakfast or just before, just to see what was there, you know, because I didn't have much to show for many watches. It was just to talk about watches. I think that really made people stay and engage and contact after. And every single day until COVID hit, I was sitting there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And in the evening, I was doing Instagram stuff, and it was incredible, you know. And when COVID hit and the hotel had to close, I nearly gave up on the business. I nearly gave up on myself and my dream. After, I think, a week or so, I was actually looking for a job again. Because I worked prior to that for Vodafone. I sent a message to my old manager, see if he still worked there. He didn't. YouTube really saved my life there, but everyone in this whole journey from where we are today and where I am today, I'm still the same guy as I was back in the day. Still that hustler, I'm still that same person, you know. I'm just more experienced now. I still make the same stupid mistakes, to be fair. So I think that the watch industry and us watch dealers we're a special breed, and a particular vintage watch dealers, you know. And I can't class myself as a vintage watch dealer. I had the choice. Shall I go in a vintage route and literally copy what Jasper does? Or am I going my own way? So I chose my own way, obviously, because Jasper gave me everything already. At a later stage, he actually came to Belfast to see the shop and hang out and spend a lot of time together. I miss that, you know. It nearly looks like a declaration of love for Jasper, which it isn't. I love him to bits, but that's where I really started my career. And some people in the industry know. Some did. Maybe Adam. Did you know this? No. I've never really been able to make that public. Vintage watches is the most special thing in the world. It's like art that you can bring with you every single day. And I think that is the beauty of vintage watches. The people that sell vintage watches are kind of special as well, you know. You have one half of them are f***ing crooks, and the other half are the best people you ever meet in your life. That's how I started the business, with vintage watches, you know. There you go. There's your story. Love strip clubs. Strip clubs are the best thing in the world. Definitely the ones in Miami.